This episode is brought to you by Stirling Soap Company. How often do you think about your soap? Well, if you answered, not much, maybe you should. You see, a lot of what passes for soap in stores is technically not soap, according to the FDA's definition. It's full of lab-created chemicals and detergents because, well, it's cheaper to make. Now, what if you could buy natural soap made from natural ingredients like tallow, palm oil, coconut oil, and scented with essential oils, and for just a little more than you'd pay for grocery store soap? Stirling Soap is 100% natural, and with a wide variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, and cologne, there's a product and a scent for just about everybody. Check them out for yourself at stirlingsoap.com. That's STIRLING soap.com. Are you a hockey fan? Then you'll love Eric Zweig's new book, Hockey Hall of Fame True Stories 2. It's a treasure trove of untold tales, bizarre incidents, and captivating trivia that will leave even the most devoted puckhead astounded. The intense rivalries, epic showdowns, and historic clashes that shaped the NHL's early years, it's all in there. Zweig uncovers the true stories that helped shape the sport, ensuring that you will never look at hockey the same way again. Check out Hockey Hall of Fame True Stories 2 on Amazon or wherever fine books are sold. And welcome back to This Day in Sports History, a member of the Sports History Podcast Network. Check out more podcasts and find more info at sportshistorynetwork.com. This is your host, Steve White, and it's time to take another tour around the sports universe and see what happened on this day in sports history. Unfortunately, we start with a tragic event that happened on this day in 1920. The Cleveland Indians were playing the New York Yankees at the Polo Grounds. It was a hazy, humid mid-August afternoon. There was a little rain that day, too, perfect to rub up a baseball with, make it a little darker, tougher for a batter to see. And if that happened to scuff up the ball a little bit and make a fastball move a little more, well, even better for the pitcher. Balls were expensive, so if a ball had a little dirt on it or a lot of dirt on it, umpires had been instructed to still keep them in play. On the mound for the Yankees was Carl Mays. Mays was a submarine thrower, a known ball scuffer, and he was also known to have a bit of a mean streak. In the top of the fifth inning, the Indians were up 3-0, and Carl Mays was especially not happy. Cleveland's shortstop, Ray Chapman, led off the inning. Chapman liked to crowd the plate and was known to lean over the plate as well. Mays was in no mood for Chapman's antics. Mays first delivered a strike on the outside part of the plate. His second pitch was a bit outside for a ball. The count, 1-1. Chapman edged a little closer to the plate. Mays needed to move him off the plate. His next pitch was high and tight, and it hit Chapman in the head. Most of the 21,000 at the Polo Grounds that day told of hearing a loud crack. Mays jumped off the mound thinking it had hit Chapman's bat, and he was about to throw to first base for the out, but then he saw Chapman slumped into the arms of Yankees catcher Muddy Rule. Rule gently laid him on the ground, and a doctor was summoned from the stands to quickly take a look. Chapman was brought back to consciousness, and he was assisted to his feet, and with the aid of two teammates, he was walked to the locker room, which was located beyond the fence in center field. He didn't make it that far. Chapman collapsed and had to be carried to the dressing room. The doctor checked Chapman a little more thoroughly and determined that he was a lot worse off than he initially thought. As quickly as could be done in 1920s New York, he was taken to the nearest hospital, St. Lawrence. There, surgery was performed, but he never regained consciousness again, and he died still under anesthesia around 5 a.m. the next morning. It was the first, and remains the only instance of a Major League Baseball player dying as a result of an injury suffered during a game. At this point in the history of the game, players did not wear helmets when they took their turn at the plate. After Chapman's death, there was a movement to develop and incorporate batting helmets, but it didn't gain any traction. It would be another 20 years before helmets started to become standard when the Brooklyn Dodgers began using them in 1941. Mays had never been a popular player around the league or even with his own teammates, and he did endure a lot of criticism in the immediate days that followed Chapman's death. There were some players and members of the press who called for Mays to be banned from the game for life. Others defended him, suggesting that Chapman may have actually turned into the pitch. Mays' catcher, Muddy Rule, said a few years later that he believed Chapman had been crowding the plate and leaning over so much that the pitch may actually have been a strike. Mays did appear in court and was deposed by the district attorney of New York until he was cleared of all charges. Some suggested that maybe the home plate umpire deserved a portion of the blame for leaving a dirty and scuffed ball in play, one that may have been difficult for a batter to see. Well, one of the things to keep in mind about that, American League President Ban Johnson had told umpires that too many balls were being thrown out and instructed umpires to keep them in play unless they were deemed dangerous. Or maybe instead of one smoking gun or one culprit, what happened on this day may have been more a case of several different factors, all coming into one horrible convergence and leading to the death of Ray Chapman. On this day in 2009, it was the final day of the PGA Championship, played that year at Hazeltine in Chaska, Minnesota. Tiger Woods was in the lead, wearing his trademark red shirt, playing in the final group and ready to hoist another major tournament trophy in the air. At this point in his career, he'd won the PGA Championship 4 times, and with Tiger in the lead after 54 holes, well, it was as close to a sure thing as there was in golf. He'd never lost when he was atop the leaderboard to start a final round. Tiger was a 20-1 favorite to win when he teed off on this day. His playing partner that day was South Korean Y.E. Yang. A lot of players were intimidated playing with Tiger, especially playing in the final group on Sunday in a major. But Yang was not intimidated in the least. Yang's caddy, A.J. Montesinos, said that Tiger and his caddy Stevie Williams did not say a word to either Yang or him for the first 5 or 6 holes. Now, that's not incredibly unusual. It's a gamesmanship and intimidation method that others have employed, such as Ben Hogan. But it didn't faze Yang. When the duo got to the 6th tee, a rules official told Yang that he needed to speed up his play. Yang, who had just watched Tiger stand over a ball in the fairway at the 5th for an eternity, shook his head and said, "Not me, him," and pointed at Tiger. Things were a little tense between the golfers the rest of the way. By the 8th, after Tiger made bogey, they were tied at 6 under. Montesinos said that he believed the momentum swung on the 13th, when Yang made a lengthy par-saving putt and Tiger missed his makeable birdie putt. Others may point to Yang chipping in for eagle at the par 4 14th, with Tiger making birdie. That gave Yang, and for the first time in the PGA Championship, somebody other than Tiger the outright lead, and he would not relinquish it. Yang's 3-iron from the first cut on 18 to within 8 feet set him up for his final birdie of the day and a round of 70. Tiger shot an uncharacteristic 75 on this day, giving Yang the 3-shot victory. Yang had taken on the giant and beaten him. On this day in 2003, Cristiano Ronaldo made his English Premier League debut with Manchester United. 4 days earlier, the Red Devils had signed the 18-year-old phenom from Sporting Lisbon. That move had been initiated after Ronaldo had put on quite a show against Man U in a friendly 5 days before that. Sir Alex Ferguson, a difficult man to impress, told several folks after that friendly that they were not leaving until they had signed that kid. They did, and ever since, Ronaldo has respectfully called Ferguson his father in football. And to show their faith in the young Portuguese kid, they gave him the number 7 that had previously belonged to David Beckham, who had recently departed for Real Madrid. On this day, it was the season opener against the Bolton Wanderers. Ronaldo came off the bench as a substitute in the 61st minute. There were flashes of what he would become in a few years, but Ferguson said the 18-year-old Ronaldo was a bit too flashy in the early going, trying to prove to others just how good he was. But after this one, Sir Alex called his debut marvelous. Man U won the game 4-0. Ronaldo did not score any of those. In fact, he'd only score 6 that season. But it was a start, and in 4 years' time, he'd score 42 goals, lead Manchester United to the Premier League title along with the Champions League title, and win his first Ballon d'Or. And on this day in 1954, Sports Illustrated printed its first issue. Pictured on the cover of issue number 1 was Milwaukee Braves future Hall of Fame third baseman Eddie Matthews in mid-swing from the left side of the plate, with New York Giants catcher Wes Westrom and umpire Augie Donatelli also pictured. It was taken at Milwaukee's County Stadium from a game back on June 9th of that year. The cover wasn't specifically chosen because of Matthews, but more because there was a great crowd at County Stadium that night. The idea tried to convey that everybody likes sports. And unlike today, when the person on the cover is featured somewhere in the magazine, that was not the case with the first edition. Instead, there were only 6 pages of sports articles and news, and there were 27 baseball cards printed by Topps. One of the articles the first issue did contain was about the Miracle Mile at the Commonwealth Games earlier in the month that I talked about back on the August 7th edition of this dish. It was a bit of a rough start for Sports Illustrated because it lost an estimated $6 million that first year. It would not actually turn a profit until year 10. Sadly, as magazines go the way of audio cassettes and Betamax, Sports Illustrated mailed its final printed copy in April of this year. Time now for today's Non-Sports Did You Know? Figs are not considered vegan because they have dead wasps inside. That's all for today. Go ahead and pencil me in at the same time tomorrow for another edition of This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Ray Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.